The fascination with hidden treasures and sudden riches has permeated the human imagination for millennia. But what happens when this ancestral fantasy crosses the borders of reality, transforming an ordinary family into protagonists of their own legend? This is precisely the extraordinary scenario that unfolded recently, when a seemingly ordinary family found themselves catapulted into opulence after a discovery as fortuitous as it was unbelievable: a treasure map hidden in an old painting. This narrative, which seems to have been taken from the pages of an adventure novel, began on an afternoon like so many others. The family in question, the Thompsons, residing in a quiet town in the English countryside, had recently inherited a modest collection of antiques from a deceased great-uncle. Among the items was a painting apparently of no special value, a somewhat faded seascape framed in weather-eaten wood. The painting remained forgotten for weeks, leaning against a corner of the living room, until Emily Thompson, the family's youngest daughter, decided to take a closer look at the piece. It was at that moment that the Thompsons' fate changed forever. Upon examining the back of the screen, Emily noticed a small irregularity in the frame. Intrigued, she began to investigate more closely, and to her surprise, discovered a cleverly camouflaged secret compartment. What Emily found inside this hidden compartment was nothing less than an ancient map, carefully folded and sealed in a protective wrapper. At first glance, it might just appear to be a historical curiosity, perhaps a decorative ornament that the original artist had decided to include as a touch of mystery. However, as the family examined the document with increasing fascination, it became clear that they were looking at something much more significant. The map, dating from the late 18th century, featured intricate markings and cryptic annotations that pointed to a specific location on the coast of Cornwall, a region in southwest England, known for its rich history of pirates and smugglers. The directions were precise enough to arouse the family's curiosity, but vague enough to maintain an air of mystery and challenge. At first, the Thompsons were divided on how to proceed. Richard, the father, was a pragmatic man, and initially dismissed the idea that the map could lead to anything real. Treasure maps are the stuff of children's stories, he argued, not without a hint of condescension. Sarah, the mother, was more open to the possibility, although cautious about the implications of embarking on such an adventure. It was Emily, with her youthful enthusiasm and unwavering conviction, who finally convinced the family to investigate further. "What if it's true?" she insisted, her eyes shining at the prospect of adventure. "We can't just ignore this. It's like fate is calling us." Giving in to their daughter's persistence and, let's face it, their own repressed curiosity, the Thompson family decided to treat the situation as an unusual vacation opportunity. They planned a trip to Cornwall, disguising the true nature of their expedition under the guise of a family holiday on the coast. As they approached their destination, the Thompsons began to feel a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The Cornish landscape, with its rugged cliffs, secluded beaches and picturesque villages, seemed like the perfect setting for a treasure hunt. It was as if the land itself held ancient secrets waiting to be discovered. Following the map's directions, the family found themselves exploring a series of coastal caves, some of which were only accessible during low tide. The process was challenging and at times discouraging. Days passed without any sign of the supposed treasure, and doubt began to creep in. Richard, in particular, became increasingly skeptical, muttering about the time and money wasted on a childish fantasy. It was on the 5th day of searches that everything changed. Exploring a particularly narrow and difficult-to-access cave, Emily noticed a rock formation that remarkably resembled one of the landmarks depicted on the map. With renewed enthusiasm, the family focused its efforts on that area. After hours of painstaking searching, their efforts were rewarded in ways none of them could have predicted. Hidden behind a rocky protrusion, camouflaged by centuries of mineral deposits, was a chest. It wasn't big, about the size of a shoebox, but its weight suggested it wasn't empty. With shaking hands and racing hearts, the Thompsons opened the trunk. The contents left them speechless. Gold jewelry studded with precious stones, ancient coins of various nationalities, and a small parchment that, they later discovered, was a letter from a famous 18th century pirate captain. The magnitude of the discovery took a while to be assimilated. It was not just the monetary value of the items, which would later be valued at millions of pounds, but the historical and cultural significance of the find that left them astonished. They had literally unearthed a piece of history. In the days that followed, the Thompsons' lives were turned upside down. News of the discovery spread quickly, attracting attention from the media, historians, and Inevitably, authorities. The hoard was declared treasury under British law, which meant it had to be reported to the government. The legal process that followed was complex and at times frustrating. There have been heated debates over the ownership of artifacts, with museums and cultural institutions claiming rights to specific items. However, after months of negotiations, an agreement was reached. A significant portion of the treasure would be preserved in museums for study and public display, while the Thompsons would receive a substantial reward for their find. The exact amount was never publicly disclosed, but conservative estimates suggested it was in the millions of pounds. Suddenly, the family that lived a comfortable but modest life found itself with financial resources that exceeded their wildest dreams. The sudden change of fortune brought with it a series of challenges and opportunities. The Thompsons found themselves at the center of intense media attention, with journalists and onlookers constantly seeking details about their extraordinary story. Privacy, something they had always taken for granted, became a precious and increasingly scarce commodity. Richard, who had initially been the most skeptical about the whole adventure, found himself reflecting deeply on the role of chance and fate in their lives. "It's incredible to think that we spent years living alongside this secret without even knowing it," he commented in a rare interview. "It makes you wonder how many other mysteries are hidden right under our noses." Sarah, in turn, saw the discovery as an opportunity to make a difference. She began to become involved in charitable projects, particularly focusing on educational initiatives that promoted the study of history and archaeology. "We want other people to have the chance to connect with the past the way we did," she explained, "perhaps not through literal treasure, but through knowledge and appreciation of our cultural heritage." For Emily, the unwitting architect of this entire adventure, the experience was transformative on a profound level. What began as childhood curiosity evolved into a genuine passion for history and archaeology. She decided to pursue a career in this field, determined to uncover more secrets from the past. The Thompsons' discovery had ramifications that extended far beyond their family. It revived public interest in Cornwall's maritime history and the phenomenon of piracy in the 17th and 18th centuries. Historians and archaeologists found themselves with a valuable new set of artifacts to study, shedding light on previously obscure aspects of this historical period. The very painting that had hidden the map became the subject of intense scrutiny and speculation. Who had painted it? How and why had the map been hidden there? These questions led to a fascinating investigation into the smuggling and espionage networks that operated in 18th century England. As the dust began to settle and the Thompsons adjusted to their new reality, they found themselves reflecting on the extraordinary path that brought them here. Sudden wealth, of course, brought comfort and financial security, but also a sense of responsibility. They were determined to use their good fortune sensibly and beneficially. One of the first steps they took was to establish a foundation dedicated to historic preservation and education. The Thompson Foundation for Historical Discoveries began funding archaeological excavations, restorations of historic sites, and scholarships for students interested in history and archaeology. Richard, overcoming his initial skepticism, became an enthusiastic advocate of the importance of preserving and studying historical artifacts. He frequently spoke at schools and universities, sharing his family history and emphasizing how the past can impact the present in unexpected ways. Sarah, for her part, focused on using the family's newly acquired platform to promote environmental causes, particularly the conservation of coastal areas. She argued that protecting these environments was not just an ecological issue, but also a cultural one, given the region's rich maritime history. Emily, now an archaeology student at university, has become something of a celebrity in the academic field. Her unique experience has placed her in an unusual position, bridging the gap between the general public and the often hermetic world of historical research. She used her story to inspire other young people to become interested in studying the past. The discovery of the treasure also had a significant impact on the local Cornish economy. The influx of tourists interested in seeing the discovery site and learning more about the region's pirate history has led to a boom in tourism. Small museums devoted to maritime history and piracy began to spring up, and tour guides offered treasure tours that retraced the Thompsons' footsteps. However, not everything was easy for the family. Sudden wealth and fame brought challenges they had never anticipated. There have been fraud attempts, people who have emerged claiming to be distant relatives entitled to a share of the treasure, and even some security threats that have forced them to increase their protective measures. Additionally, the family had to deal with constant scrutiny from the public and media. Every decision they made, every purchase they made, seemed to be the subject of public comment and judgment. This led to moments of tension and stress, testing the family cohesion that had been so crucial during their initial adventure. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Thompsons' story was the debate it provoked about the nature of luck, destiny, and merit. Some saw his discovery as pure luck, a random stroke of fortune that could have happened to anyone. Others argued that it was Emily's curiosity, the family's willingness to follow an unlikely lead, and their perseverance during the search that really made the difference. This debate has extended into broader discussions about wealth and inequality in society. The Thompsons found themselves unwittingly at the center of conversations about taxation of windfall wealth, the ethics of found treasures, and the role of chance in determining financial success. As the years passed, the Thompsons' story continued to fascinate the public. Books were written, documentaries were produced, and even a Hollywood film based on his adventure was in development. The family found themselves navigating the complexities of having their personal story turned into public entertainment, trying to maintain a balance between sharing their experience and preserving their privacy. The impact of the discovery also extended to the world of academia and historical conservation. The Thompsons' treasure provided new insights into trade routes, piracy practices, and everyday life in the 18th century. Historians and archaeologists have used the coins, jewelry, and documents found to fill important gaps in our understanding of this period. Furthermore, the discovery has stimulated a debate about the policies of treasure hunting and the preservation of historical artifacts. Many countries have revised their laws relating to archaeological discoveries, seeking a balance between encouraging the reporting of finds and protecting cultural heritage. For the Thompsons, the journey that began with a map hidden in an old frame has become an odyssey of self-discovery and transformation. They learned to navigate the turbulent waters of sudden fame, deal with the responsibilities that come with unexpected wealth, and find greater purpose in their extraordinary experience. Richard, who had once dismissed the idea of a treasure map as a childish fantasy, now spoke eloquently about the importance of keeping a sense of wonder and possibility alive. Our history shows that sometimes reality can be more extraordinary than fiction, he often said. We must never stop exploring, questioning, seeking the extraordinary in the ordinary. Sarah, in turn, often reflected on how a simple decision, in this case taking a closer look at a seemingly worthless painting, could completely alter the course of a life. She became a passionate advocate for the idea that every person has the potential to make significant discoveries, whether literally or metaphorically. Emily, whose childhood curiosity had been the catalyst for the entire adventure, grew up to become a respected archaeologist. Her unique experience placed her in a position to bridge the gap between the academic world and the general public, allowing her to communicate the excitement and importance of historical research in a way that resonated with people of all ages. As time passed, the Thompsons' story gradually transformed from a media sensation into a modern tale of unexpected possibilities. It became a reminder that the extraordinary can be hidden in the most ordinary places, waiting to be discovered by those willing to look beyond the obvious. Perhaps the final lesson of the Thompsons saga is that true treasure is not necessarily in the material riches they found, but in the journey they took together, the lives they touched, and the changes they were able to effect in the world around them. His story continues to inspire people around the world to take a closer look at the world around them, to question the seemingly ordinary, and to keep the flame of curiosity and exploration alive. For who knows what other secrets, what other extraordinary stories are waiting to be discovered, perhaps hidden in plain sight, like a treasure map in an old painting. Thus, the Thompsons' unlikely journey from ordinary family to guardians of a historic treasure serves as a powerful reminder of the potential for wonder and discovery that exists in our everyday lives. She invites us to look at the world with new eyes, to embrace the unexpected, and to recognize that sometimes the greatest adventures can begin in the most unlikely places. Ultimately, the story of the Thompsons transcends the mere narrative of a fortuitous discovery. It becomes a parable about curiosity, perseverance, and the interconnection between past and present. It reminds us that history is not something confined to textbooks or dusty museums, but a living force that can burst into our lives in surprising and transformative ways. As we look to the future, we may wonder, how many other metaphorical treasure maps are there in our world, waiting to be discovered? What secrets, what knowledge, what opportunities for change and growth are hidden in plain sight, awaiting only the curious eye and open mind that will reveal them? The lesson from the Thompsons is clear. Keep your eyes open, your mind curious, and your spirit adventurous, because you never know when or where you might stumble upon your own treasure map, ready to take you on a journey that will change your life forever. And so, as we close this chapter in the Thompsons' extraordinary saga, we are left with a sense of possibility and expectation. Who knows what other incredible stories are waiting to be told, what other treasures, whether material, intellectual, or spiritual, are waiting to be discovered. The world, as the Thompsons so vividly reminded us, is full of hidden wonders and unexplored possibilities. It is up to each of us to be open to these opportunities, ready to embark on our own adventures, whether big or small. For in the end, perhaps the greatest treasure of all is the journey of discovery itself, the connections we make, the lessons we learn, and the ways we grow along the way. And in that sense, we all have the potential to become treasure hunters in our own lives, seeking not necessarily gold and jewels, but knowledge, understanding, and the richness of human experiences. The Thompsons story, then, is not just about a family finding treasure. It's an invitation for all of us to look closer, dream bigger, and never stop exploring the wonderful world around us. Who knows what treasures you might discover on your own journey through life?